Hi, welcome. In this video, I will be converting this design into code. The source code and the design will be linked in the description below. So check it out, watch this video till the end, and leave your feedback on the comments below. Thank you. So let's start by clearing everything. This will be the card that will be holding the whole form. So let's divide the card into two places, the left side and also the right side. So let's add some style to see our card come to life. So we'll be defining some initial values to make sure we can see it as we design it. So let's just add the white background and also an initial height and initial width. Let's add the box shadow to the card. I like using Chrome to edit the box shadow. It helps me to preview what I'm doing. With this hack, when I'm done with editing on Chrome, I can just copy over all the parameters and paste on my source code, and it will be transformed. Okay, now let's make the left and the right side more visible. We'll be giving the design a little more separation to make sure the left stays on the left and the right stays on the right. So it will be easier for us to work with and for you guys to follow. Dividing the left side into three horizontal blocks helps me to focus on one segment at a time. So we'll be dealing with the title area, the login and the subtitle area. After we're done with structuring the login title area, we can now work on the styles to make it pop and look a little closer to the design. Let's also work on the structure for the form. We will be starting with the input, one of the inputs, the username input. Once the structure is ready, then we can move towards the styling of the form. In case you're wondering, I'm using Font Awesome for the icons so that we do not import SVGs, the SVG files by ourselves. I am just using the style from Font Awesome. To achieve the design expectation, we just need to expand the input and also let the icon float towards the right side and not exactly affect the structure of the input. So it floats over the input, and we remove the borders from the input and just let the lower border be the only thing that will be there. And the lower border also needs to be distinct. So when you hover over it, you get an outline, and we don't want that outline. So we'll be removing that outline and we'll be leaving the lower border. Now that we have a fairly good design for the username, let's replicate the same thing for the password, and you can see it's just as easy as copy and paste. And once that side is done, we can just do the miscellaneous sections. In these sections, there are two elements, the remember me and the forgot password. So they just need to be side by side, one on the left and one on the right. We'll just define the structure for them and we will work on their styling later on. I struggled a lot with the checkbox because I didn't know how to exactly remove the default outline. So I tried removing the outline, it didn't work. I tried removing the border, it didn't work. And then I just gave up and moved on to the next thing. The next thing was for me to remove the underline from the link whenever you hover over it. So I just had to define the hover parameters for that particular link. Now that we're done with the input, we will be adding the button. So it's just a simple input with a type of submit. And also we'll be adding the style for it as its own section. We'll also be maintaining the link color and applying it to the button. The button in the design is a rounded button, so we will be defining that with the border radius. There's also a very subtle box shadow in the design, and let's do that here also. Just like before, I'll be using the inspect element of Chrome, and it will make my job a little more faster, and I can just design it there and get the right blur and spec I need and copy over my result. So this is the reference design again. So we'll be referencing the design so that we don't miss our mark. If you want to speed up your work, inspect element is a very good tool for you to learn. Let's add the last left section to the left block. It will contain our social icons and our login with. The social section has 3 buttons, one for Facebook, one for Twitter, and the other for Google. So we will be defining one for the Facebook section, and then we will then do for the rest of them. Since they all have the same class, we can just style that class and you will see the styling reflecting all of them at once. So now we'll be adding different styling for each social network because of their branding. Their branding have different colors, so we'll be making special changes to each one of them. To mirror the design, I'll be adding 2 fonts, the Montserrat font and also Roboto. So you can get this font from the Google Font website and add it to your HTML link section, or rather the header section. We also need to change the way the buttons look, the social buttons look. Whenever you hover over them, they should not look the same way. So let's add some changes. To make the transition of the box shadow more smooth, I will be adding a transition to make it a little more realistic and not just appear and disappear. Now let's round the edge of the whole card. The right side has an image, so we'll be adding a background image to the right side. And let's reposition it well so that it will look closer to the design. Defining the structure for the right side, there are three sections: the main message, the divider, and also the sub message. So we will do the structure and then also work on the design for them. As I mentioned earlier, I will be copying fonts from Google's font. I will be taking the Roboto font and adding it to this project. I won't be using the local fonts that I downloaded earlier, so I'll be commenting them out. Referencing the main design so that I don't make any mistake or not have to redo the whole thing. So I will be monitoring the reference design closely to get the exact line spacing between the letters. Now let's shift our focus to the divider. My CSS is a little rusty, so I was trying to use the after, but it didn't work. So in the end, I ended up using the element as it is and define the border. Referencing some of the artifacts to see if I am doing the right thing, especially on the font section. I look at the fonts. Are they nice? Are they looking exactly the same? But so far it's looking good. The font weight for the title looked a little off, so I had to change it. I also tried adding a transition to the disappearance of the right side, but it didn't work. So there are some things where transition work for and some things it doesn't work for. But if someone knows how to help me with media query disappearance and appearance and transition smoothly, please leave it down below in the comments. That will be much appreciated. I forgot to add the cancel button at the top right, so I'll be adding it now. Still using Font Awesome, I will be using their icons to add that cancel button. I could not get a button that looked exactly like this design, so we'll be settling with the one that Font Awesome provides us. So the original design had a very thin cancel button, but Font Awesome's one was very fat, or should I say thick. So let's do some final touches and we should be fine. Like I mentioned before, the source code is linked in the description below. You can follow the link to my GitHub and copy the code for yourself and run it. Maybe you can improve it and show it to the community. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope the final output looks as good as the original design. Thanks for watching.